Hello and welcome to Elden Ring. Follow me through this, and by the time we're done, I'll show you all the weapons, armor, shields, talismans, ashes, and physic tiers that you're going to be needing to go to Shadow the Erdtree. No matter what build you're doing, strength, dex, intelligence, faith, arcane, a mix of them, doesn't matter. Any build, you'll be ready for the DLC by the time we're done with this. Now, your origin doesn't really matter. I'm gonna go with Vagabond because it's the one I'm the most comfortable with. And something to note, you don't need to pick anything as your keepsake. You don't need the golden seed to get all the upgrades. You don't need to pick the cracked pot to get all the cracked pots. You don't need to pick Shabriri's Woe or Crimson Amber Medallion to get them. You can get all of those out in the main game, just in the world. So it's perfectly fine to pick none or the Lands Between rune to get some currency. Personally, for this run, I'm going to be going with the Stone Sword Key, as we're going to be using a lot of them in the beginning. So, heading straight into things, the very beginning doesn't matter, so skipping that. If you head to the right, you can do the tutorial. I know how to play the game, so I'm not going to do that. But you start off with 3 flasks of Crimson Tears, which gives you health back, and 1 flask of Cerulean Tears, which gives you FP back. That's for magic and skills. So if you use those, you're going to need blue flasks. If not, you can change them all over to red flasks. Now, that is the thing we just passed up, is a cave. It requires 2 Stone Sword Keys to get into, and choosing the Stone Sword Key as your keepsake gives you 2 so you can go into there. However, while it does have some good rewards, especially from the boss, I'm not going to go there as those 2 Stone Sword Keys are pretty useful. There's an NPC. I would suggest talking to all the NPCs, but I'm going to be skipping him for this just to save time. But if you look to the right, you can see some kind of building. It is a church, and I'm going slightly to the left to avoid a boss that's directly in the way, but head slightly to the side, and then you can head back, so that way you can make it to the church without making that boss angry, because most people aren't equipped to deal with them right away. Now, there is a merchant at the church. We will get to him, just not right now. For now, we are going to follow this main road, and there are these enemies. You're going to see them a lot here. They have this green and red chest piece on, and something I would suggest doing is killing a lot of them, because they give a decent amount of runes. As you can see, 64 for how easy they are to kill. They also have a chance to drop smithing stones, which are used to upgrade your weapons, which is very useful. But some of them you want to head to the left here. But some of them also have a golden shield, and the ones who have that shield have a chance to drop it. And while it does require 16 strength, it is a very, very good medium shield. But here, there's a site of grace, the checkpoints of this game, and this one specifically gets you a cutscene and allows you to talk to an NPC. So, I'm just going to skip through all their dialogue, but you want to accept. And that will get you the Spectral Steed Whistle, which is a horse.
Use it. It will subtorrent. Treat him with.
And I'm going to equip that here. You can equip it wherever you want. but that gets you a horse, so you can traverse the world a lot more quickly. And we're going to go up through there in a minute, but first, heading down here into the Gatefront Ruins, you can pick up a map. And that will allow you to see things on the map, obviously. But here, as you can see, these guys have this golden triangle shield. And while I didn't get it, they have a chance to drop it. And again, it's a lot better than any of the shields you can get starting out. But here, you can get the Lord Sorn's Greatsword. It's a pretty basic greatsword, but you can get it very early on, and if you're looking to use a greatsword, it's a decent first option. And that's something I'm going to be doing throughout this first part in Limgrave, is showing where to get these basic weapons for each weapon class. But here, you can get a golden seed. These are used to upgrade the amount of flask that you have, to give you more sips, either of health or FP. But here, there's another site of grace, and you can take this as an opportunity to get another flask. And over here, there's an NPC. I suggest talking to them. I'm not going to, for the sake of time, but here you can get another stone sword key. And from this point, you want to head from the site of grace northeast. There's going to be this giant block thing. You want to head to the left of that. And you're probably going to see a giant, or in this game they're called trolls, but you want to just run past them, because up on this cliffside is the Strength Not Crystal tier. This can be placed into the Flask of Wondrous Physic, and if you drink it, then for a short time it will increase your strength stat by 5 points, which will be very good early on if you're going to a strength build. And it is reusable, so don't worry about wasting it. But continuing on down the main path, slightly off to the right, there's another shack here with another set of grace. So you can pick this up, you can sit down to de-aggro the enemies, and over here on the map is where we picked up the Strength Not tier. But here, another NPC, we can talk to him.
But let me ask, are you here? Does your despite?
Your answer doesn't matter. It doesn't, I'm sorry to say.
Honest, such that there's nothing any interest. All I know is that.
But from him, you can purchase a handful of Ashes of War. These are skills that you can place on your weapon, and I would suggest the Stamp Upward Cut for strength builds with like great swords or colossal swords, or Impaling Thrust for more dexterity based weapons like spears and thrusting swords, as they're very good against shields. And then no skill is good to put on shields. Like, as you can see, ours has parry, but if you want to use your weapon skill but not parry, then no skill is good for that. But from that side of grace, you want to head generally north. You can go a little left, you can go a little right. It doesn't matter. As long as you're going north, you're going to land somewhere around here. And you will be kicked off your horse. Don't worry, that is intentional. There's an NPC invader here. Now, I am playing offline, so all the invaders that you see are computer invaders that are guaranteed every time. Now, as you can see there, they do a lot of rolling. The NPCs in this game have things called animation raiders, and Elden Ring, at least in the base game, I don't know about Shadow of the Erdtree, because it hasn't come out yet, but the base game they really like to rely on animation readers. And so skills like Square Off are very good against them. And killing them gets you the Hammer Talisman. And that's very good against enemies that are a bit over-reliant on the shield, which tends to happen a lot if the enemy has a great shield, so good for that. But you want to head out and you want to head east. You'll know that you're going the right direction when you see these flaming slug enemies. You just want to head past them, and you want to head past this giant thing. And when you see a knight on a horse, you know that you've gone in the right direction, because this is our target. Now, they might run away. Don't worry, just stand your ground. Heavy attacks will stun them with the straight swords, so they shouldn't be too difficult as long as you swing hard. But killing them gets you Ash of War, Golden Vow. It's not as powerful as the incantation, but it's still decent and it is very popular. And as you can see, there's these little glowing skulls that I'm breaking to get Golden Rune 1s. I would suggest doing that. But there on the map is where we got him. And you want to head down over to this thing, because you can drop down onto it. And then you can pick up the lance, which is like a great spear. It is the most basic one. So if you want to have that, or if you want to try it out, then there you go. Now here, there's 3 ways to go. I would suggest going to the left first, and alongside the wall, there will be a doorway here. And opening this up will get you access to the death-touched catacombs. And we're going to be going through here. I'm not going to show all of it, but I will show this. This room with the staircase and the first grave Glowvort 1. If you turn around and head under the stairs and then take a left, head through this tunnel, and then head, or take another left and head through, you will get the Uchi Katana, which is the most basic katana, a very popular weapon class in Elden Ring. But we're not really here for that. We're more so here for the boss. And taking them out gets you 2 things. 1, Assassin's Crimson Dagger, but 2, if you open the chest, you get a Death Root. Now, Assassin's Crimson Dagger allows you to get HP back from getting critical hits, so parries, backstabs, and that can happen a lot with guard counters, which I do a lot of guard counters, so I'm gonna put that on. But you also get a Death Root from it, which can be given to the Beast Clergyman for rewards, and he's in a different area, so we'll see him later down the line. But yeah, 3 rewards here that are all pretty good, and then we can teleport back to the beginning, and from there we can head out. And if you head north, there is a talisman that lets you do more damage on horseback. I skipped it for the sake of time, but now we're going to head off to the right here to this NPC. Help him out. Say yes.
Just give and I'll pop. Don't dally. Give it your all.
And you just want to hit him in the back with the hardest weapon you have. Just charge attack after charge attack. You'll get him out in a few swings, I'm sure.
Oh, that's well, aye.
But just exhaust his dialogue.
I and beyond upon this, I'd heard doesn't of them. I'm heading to Redmane. I've heard.
He's an NPC with an extensive quest. So, while I'm not focused on the quest for this, I'm focused more on the equipment. I will be showing the major, like, side quest points that you have to hit. So, that's the first one on his quest, and then we can continue on. This enemy you're free to ignore, and you can pick up these 2 smithing stone ones, which again are used to upgrade your weapon, to give it more damage. Here, there's a merchant. From him, you can buy some smithing stone ones, you can buy a cracked pot. You can also buy Nomadic Cookbook 3, which is used for pickled turtlenecks and poison bone arrows. Pickled turtlenecks increase your stamina recovery speed, so that's pretty good.
Oh, I'm afraid of.
He also sells a short sword and a halberd, in case you don't have those and you want to try them out. But here you might notice we're picking up lots of flowers and fruits. That's because those are all considered to be crafting items, and Elden Ring does have crafting. It's not super extensive, but those cookbooks are all about crafting, and so it's good to pick up all those different items as you're just heading through the areas. But here, there's another NPC.
I'm known. Heed the village, and worse if you the village turn back.
You want to talk to him. He's another person that has a quest. So, talk to him and that'll jumpstart his quest. And the first part of it is to go down here and to kill this boss. You will pretty quickly notice them. They're kind of hard to miss. They're in a giant glowing boat. And if you're new to Elden Ring, if you're not quite sure about the combat or how to deal with things yet, don't be anxious about this fight. Just watch out for when their hand glows red and they put it in the air, because that's when they do a giant, like, waterfall attack. But that's all you have to watch out for on this boss. I was going to skip this boss for the sake of time, but I figured it should be worth showing, just to show, like, just in case you're new, it can be used to show you that this is not a boss to worry about. I don't consider myself to be incredibly good at these games. I'm alright. I'm decent at times, but nothing super standout. But as you can see, this boss can't do anything against me. And I don't have weapon upgrades. I haven't upgraded my strength or my skill at all. I'm purely leveling health, and even then, I'm not taking any damage from the boss. Like I said, they're kind of a pushover. As long as you take out the skeletons that are around them, you'll be fine, because the skeletons are more of a threat than the boss themselves. But taking them out gets you another death root, along with a spirit ash. But from there, we're not really here to take out the boss. We're more here to jumpstart that guy's quest. So, if you head back near the beginning, then you'll find him here, and you can talk to him.
Another with a How would you, if you're inclined? Then I'll introduce. I have a matter in the beast. What say?
Accept the introduction.
Very well. I've marked the. It will lead. I spotted an ill someone and must.
So, with step 1 of his quest completed, we can now continue on. And off to the right here, there will be a few turtles, along with a little statue thing. You can use a stone sword key to open up this section, and this is why I picked the stone sword key as the starting gift. So that way I wouldn't have to pick up or buy any. But room full of turtles, you can kill them for their necks to make the neck meats. But the main reason we're here is for the green turtle talisman, which increases stamina recovery speed, which is useful for every type of build. So no matter what kind of build you're running, it will be useful to you. So always good to pick that up. But you want to keep heading out until you click the trees, and then you want to head off to the right. And from here, you want to just look for safe places to drop down. You can drop a decent bit. And you want to look for these graves, because these give you golden runes. And these, they're like poppable items. So you can go into your inventory and consume them at any time, and they give you runes. And in case you don't know, runes are the currency of this game. They allow you to level up, they allow you to upgrade your weapons, they allow you to purchase items from merchants, so on and so forth. But you just want to keep heading down, and eventually you'll find this wind tunnel. Drop down onto that, it will be safe, I promise you. And then you'll find this little glowing thing. You want to kill them, and that will get you the Ash of War Sacred Blade. These are very, very good against skeletons. And so, anytime you go into a catacomb, which mostly has skeletons as enemies, it'll be really good to have that. But around there is the Third Church America, where you can pick up a Sacred Tear, along with the Crimson Crystal Tear and the Flask of Wondrous Physic. Now, with a Site of Grace right here, we can sit down here. And these Sacred Tears increase the amount of HP or FP that you get back from your flasks, just making them more potent, which is very good. And then, now you can mix the Flask of Wondrous Physic. We got the Crimson Crystal Tear just now, that restores half of your health. And we got the Strength Not Crystal Tear earlier on in Stormhill. Again, that gives you 5 points into strength for a short period of time. But from there, you want to head south, and you'll quickly notice this, like, dirt path. You just want to follow the dirt path, as it will lead you to where you need to go. Now, you may have seen that there was that red marker on the map. I'm not going to be doing that. If you want to, that leads you to the Beast Clergyman, and you can then feed him the death root. Again, I'm not going to be doing that. Not here, not now. But here you get another map fragment, and the Nomadic Cookbook 4. And here, there's some enemies, and jumping up and to the left, there's another one of these little, they're called scarabs, but they're just little bugs. They give you Ashes of War. But I was going to show something there, I got distracted, because here is in the Mistwood Ruins, there's a wolf howling. We will get back to this, as it is very important. But you want to look up, there's a giant, giant tree. And you want to head towards that. Where we killed the little scarab, there's a minor Erdtree. And here, there's the spiked crystal tier, or the spiked crack tier. But we are here for the green spill crystal tier, which increases your stamina for a short period of time. So if you aren't a fan of strength, like if you're not doing a strength build, you can have that instead to give yourself some more stamina. But for now, we're just going to continue on down the path Again, we will get to that howl soon. For now, there's a message saying open for business, and heading to the left of that, there's another merchant.
Where are you, please? I'm angry.
So, he sells some stuff, mainly the Armor's Cookbook 3, which can get you Exalted Flesh. I don't have enough runes to purchase it because I've been skipping a lot of the fights up to this point just for the sake of time. But Exalted Flesh is a popular consumable item, so you may want to pick that up, especially if you're doing a melee build. Not nearly as useful for magic builds, because it increases physical damage, but it is particularly popular with strength builds. But continuing forward, there's another Site of Grace here. Again, these are just the little checkpoints. You can teleport to them at just about any time, and if you die, you get sent back to the last one you rested at or lit. So, it is good to get those whenever you see them. But here, I'm just heading off to the side to avoid attracting too many enemies. But there we get a golden seed. Again, that is used to create more sips of your flasks. But here, as you can see, after shielding, you can press the heavy attack button to do what is called a guard counter. And they can get you lots of critical hits, which is why, or part of why, the Assassin's Crimson Dagger is so good. Because it is very, very potent with those guard counter builds. But continuing on, heading into here, you'll get the pop-up of Fort Height. And this is like a very, very mini dungeon. They're usually only like 2 or 3 rooms-ish. So pretty small. But they tend to have some good rewards in them. Though they also tend to have some enemies in them. And here, the main danger of this one being enemies that are throwing flaming pots along with explosive fire barrels. So, it can be good to just run up the stairs as fast as you can to avoid a lot of the danger. Now here there's a knight, and knights may seem imposing if you're new, but guard counters are very powerful. So just make sure that you're not using too much of your stamina, and just go for guard counters. They're very easy, they're very powerful. The knight goes down, you get the Ash of War Bloody Slash. Now you can go up this ladder to get the left side of the Dectus Medallion. I'm not going to be using that, I'm going to be showing an alternative way to go through that, and what I think is the better way to go through it at a later time. So if you want to grab it, there's no reason not to. I'm simply skipping it for the sake of time. But continuing on, clearing out the fort, in this room protected by a few enemies, there's another cookbook, the Nomadic Cookbook 6. What this does is it allows you to create blood grease and blood bone arrows, which allow you, or blood grease allows you to apply blood to your weapon. And so blood loss is very popular in Elden Ring, and there's also lots of blood rows around Fort Height, which is required to create blood grease, so good to grab some of those if you want to go into a bleed build. But now we are going to teleport to the Church of Ella, or however you wish to pronounce it.
This
And
way, tarnished. May I have a word? Pleasure
NPC,
I am the wit. I'd heard tant upon the talk thou art but to call forth.
say yes, that you can.
I was in thy torrents for.
This will get you the Spirit Calling Bell, which will allow you to summon Spirit Ashes to help you with fights and bosses, along with the Lone Wolf Ashes, which are a decent early ash.
Spirits now it is. Forgive, I doubt we. How long will before the time?
And with that being done, they will head on their way. And here you can get a Smithing Stone 1 and a Smithing Table. Here you can use runes and smithing stones to upgrade your weapon.
And I can also that you're not. Then why not? I am Carl.
And this guy, ask him about the Howling in the Mistwood.
Howl, I suppose. Next time you don't, I just have.
He will give you the finger snap gesture, which is very important. Now, he sells various items, like the telescope, which is pretty good, some cracked pots, and the crafting kit, which I'm going to get. And he sells a few of these, like this gets you bone arrows and bone bolts, but you can also just purchase arrows and bolts, which makes that kind of obsolete. And then holy water pots, decent, but I'm not going to get it. Instead, I'm going to purchase the torch.
Goodbye.
Now, he is a... I don't know if we can call him reoccurring, but he's a named merchant who has a lot more dialogue than most other merchants. And so he is special. But we are going to head back the way we came before. Again, I would suggest killing these guys, as they have a chance to drop smithing stones. And I would especially suggest killing the ones that have the shield, because it is a pretty good shield. But what we're going to do here is, in every ruin in Elden Ring, there's a staircase that leads slightly underground, and that either leads to a boss that gives a reward upon killing, or a chest that has a reward in it. And we are here now to get that reward, because the one here, pretty important for going through the entire game. So you can take out this whole area if you want, or you can sneak like I did this time. Either way, as long as you get to the chest. And inside, you get the whetstone knife, which allows you to apply Ashes of War to your weapons. So you can put different skills on your weapon. Like, my shield has parry, my sword has square off, but if you want something else, then you can put something else on. But continuing on, heading down southeast roughly, you'll hear a voice.
Could you help us out, Cully?
So over here, there's a bush. You can roll into it. You can talk to this guy.
Thank you. I was put and I ended. Oh, when they and so this is all I.
Just go through all of his dialogue.
Right.
We will get back to him and his quest, as you can call it. But from there, you want to head north, and getting past this structure, you want to head over to the right, and you'll see these wooden spikes. You can take out these enemies if you want. You can run past them like I did if you want. Doesn't matter. We are here for Armor's Cookbook 1. And the reason why we went after that is because it allows you to craft fire grease, which allows you to put fire on your weapon to increase its damage. And that was here on the map, in case you would rather put markers on the map than follow directions. But continuing down the main path, there's this. You don't really have to take this one out, but if you do, it will give you the Ash of War determination, which, much like Square Off, isn't anything super standout or special. It's not overpowered by any means, but it is a decent early game Ash of War. But crossing the bridge, you want to then head off to the left, following this dirt path. And I should say this isn't the way that you're quote-unquote supposed to go through the map, and it's not the way I typically go through the map. I just decided to switch things up this run, but I'm still hitting all the important areas, getting all the weapons and the shields and the armor and all the important whatnots. But here, there's a Site of Grace, and if you head north-northeast, you'll see this structure. You want to get on top of it to find another NPC.
Is anybody there?
Which,
Someone who might be
you can already hear him
interested in
talking.
The great Kenneth Height. Well, then, no. Despite of you might have young tarnish, I want you to knight.
So he wants you to kill the knight in Fort Height, which we already did.
Trimbach? A fine way. I doubt the doubt. Go on.
And he gives you a knife as a reward for your hard efforts.
Right there. I've much. What's that look? Well, uneven, which is why just you. Would you like? I see bright. Enter, and who knows what say.
There's no reason to say no, so go for it.
I knew. I shall hold. I see. Right there. I've much.
And you won't be seeing him again for a very long time, but he's there. But here, the next spot is the Mistwood Ruins to go back to that howling. I'm going to cut through the woods because it's faster, but if you want to follow this main path, you definitely can. It'll get you there probably easier, and you won't have to deal with any Giga Bears. But as you can see, just cutting through is a bit faster, and I didn't want to make this too long since I was going through an entire region in one video, so I decided to go for speed. But here you can drop down and you want to equip the finger snap gesture and then use that and you'll meet a new NPC.
Who goes there? Carly sent you, did he? Ever the bloody busybody. The name's Bly. He fled somewhere. Come tell me, I can offer you. And in need. Darrowell and in need of.
So he has a very extensive side quest, and it's important to get him for any run. And he is personally my favorite NPC. Smithing Stone 2. But that's actually why I have the profile pic that I do. Because of him. But heading down here, past the Giga Bear, there's another chest, and inside you get the Axe Talisman. And this increases the charged attacks of your weapons. Personally, I'm not a big fan of charged attacks. I'm much more of a guard counter person myself. But, like I said, this is for every build, every run, every type of playstyle. So, no matter what you're going for, this guide should help you out. But heading back here, this is another chance to get the Exalted Flesh cookbook if you want,
How nice.
in case you couldn't get it before, which I still didn't have the runes for it, but you can sell these, and as you can see, I already had 14 of those because I was just going around crushing the little skulls on with my horse. But again, it increases physical attack, so very good for melee builds, especially ones focused on high damage, which tend to be strength builds. But before we went up to the left to take out Fort Height, but now we are going to be headed off to the right because there's a few things here. The first is another set of these gravestones, which again just have plenty of golden runes, so that way you can get some easy money without needing to fight. And there are some wolves here in case you want to get even more runes. That is definitely an option. But again, I was going through an entire region in one part, so wanted to speed things up a bit. And I would like to thank you for ignoring the fact that I had a very difficult time picking up some basic items there. I really appreciate you not mentioning that. That was very kind of you. But continuing on kind of southwest, you will eventually make it down onto this path, which to the left there's a bridge, but that leads you into Weeping Peninsula, which is a different area. And so instead we are going to be heading off to the right. And there was a wind tunnel. We will use that in a minute, but for now we're going to continue running forwards, and we will run ourselves off the path in order to get this site of grace. And from there, we can head back up, and we can head almost straight south up this hill or incline, and you'll see a lot of these purple things. Don't worry about them. They just show you that you're near an Everjail. An Everjail is a boss, but don't worry if you're new, because you can summon Blythe, who can practically do the fight for you. But summon him, bring down the boss, and you'll be rewarded with Bloodhound's Fang, a very popular weapon because of its skill. But we're not really here for the weapon. We're more so here to continue on Blythe's quest. So do that, and then you can talk to him.
How to work for it. Don't. Oh yes. If you venture, tell him I said he'll be sure I owe you honor. That's enough chin. It's time we parted.
And with his dialogue exhausted, we can continue on heading kind of northeast-ish, where you can kind of see the wind tunnel. We're going to be jumping over that, though you can fall and then use it to jump onto this side, because jumping into them will send you very high into the air. But as you can see, we got a ton of different basic weapons, and I'm not going to be showing you where to get every single weapon, but I figured one weapon in each weapon class, or at least most of the weapon classes, might be good just in case you want to try out the different weapon classes. You can have like one basic spear, one great spear, one thrusting sword, one halberd, one straight sword, one great sword, one curved sword, so on and so forth, just in case you want to try things out. And I would suggest taking out the magic guy first, because he will just keep peppering you with magic. But here, you get the Great Epee, however you pronounce it. It is a heavy thrusting sword. And then you can head back southwest. And again, jumping down onto a wind tunnel will negate all fall damage, and so you'll be totally fine. And then from there, you can head back to the site of grace. And here, it took 1 golden seed, but here, it takes 2. So, in case you're new to Elden Ring, the way that golden seeds work is you start out with 4 total flasks, and if you want to get more, it will take 1, then 1, then 2, then 2, then 3, then 3, then 4, then 4, then 5, then 5. And then you'll be capped out. And there's more golden seeds than that, but you'll be capped out at a maximum of 14 flasks. Which again, you can spread out between the red and blue ones however you want. Now here, inside of this chest, you can get the Great Axe, which is the normal Great Axe. Though you do need to smack one of those trolls to get them to stop, to actually be able to open up the chest to get it. But I'm not going to do that. You're free to do so if you want it. But we're going to head down into here, where we can kill this boss. And this boss doesn't give any immediate rewards. Instead, they give you access to this NPC. You want to say yes here.
I dare say you. Oh well, perhaps but one must. I was as a revive. You still.
Again, you want to say yes.
Very well, but I refuse to anticipate.
And that will allow you to purchase sorceries. You can purchase Glintstone Pebble and Glintstone Arc. 2 pretty decent early game sorceries that I would highly suggest. She does sell a handful of others, but they aren't as good. You mostly want to get Glintstone Pebble for single targets and Glintstone Arc for big groups. But you also get a Site of Grace here, so that way it's very easy to come back later. Because there are magic scrolls, you can give them to her to learn even more sorceries. Or just in case you don't have the runes to buy the ones you want. But from there, we can continue on up the road. And here there's a bridge. You might recognize this. This is where we went down into the Mistwood. And so we came across this bridge. We are now going back across the other way. And you want to head slightly to the left. And you want to head down here. And this will bring you to like a swamp or a bog that the game insists is a lake. Don't be fooled. Know your biomes. But we're not heading there. We are heading to the left of that under this bridge. Which, taking out some skeletons for some easy money, we are going to continue on. And you will be kicked off your horse. Again, this is on purpose. It's another NPC invader. And again, I'm playing offline, so every invader is a guaranteed computer invader. And they will give rewards upon killing them. And again, they really like to roll. They really like their animation readers. But for some reason, they don't know how to deal with square off, which is part of why I went with it. Now, there, as you can see, someone was summoned. That is another computer. They are here to help you. They normally have a full sentence. I don't know why it got cut off. That was super weird. But we killed this guy, and the orange guy over there is who was sent to help us. And square off is so good, he didn't even get to come over here to help us. But killing that invader gets you the Reduvia, a dexterity arcane dagger that has blood loss buildup. So if if you're looking to go into Dexterity Arcane, there you go, that's your first weapon. But here, we have a cave, and there's nothing special about this cave, except for the boss.
Well, well, well. Thought you'd just help yourself to a man's personal belongings, huh? You scheming little thief. The gods demand repentance. Cough up your coin. All of it.
Again, skills are very good, square off especially. I wouldn't suggest using a shield against him because that is a good way to lead to an early death. That spray that he has, it doesn't do any damage, it just lowers your damage.
Wait, please. I surrender. White flag and all.
Let him live. He'll be fine.
Well, finally come round, have you? Well, I knew you would. You're a man of reason. True and true. Well, now how did I took you for an innocent, water, a true, I'm tarnished, only for now, in exchange for, honestly, frankly, so don't, I'll be ready to.
Your answer there doesn't really matter, but he becomes a merchant the next time you show up. So, he sells some stuff, it's pretty good, and I would suggest keeping him alive. But we're gonna teleport here, and if you look on the map, this thing, this kinda looks like a cave opening, kinda looks like a black hole, whatever you may think it looks like, it is something called a tunnel. And whenever you see one on the map, you should go for it, because it is a special type of cave that is packed full of upgraded materials for your weapons, which will be very good for increasing your damage. And if we check, right now I have 6 smithing stone 1s. And I'm not going to go through the whole cave showing you everything. We can just note that I'm coming in with 6. That was something I should say, is these stone men are very resistant to slash, which most swords do slash, though they're very weak to strike. And a very early strike option happens to be the torch. So it might not seem like it, but grabbing the torch wasn't just for light, it was to give us a damaging option. But going through, we can kill the boss. You don't need to kill the boss. Like, the reward isn't that good. I just did it to teleport out of here. But here we have 15 smithing stone 1. We came in with 6, which means we've gained 9 going through this one tunnel. You need 12 to fully upgrade a weapon, which means go through this tunnel and then you only need 3 more. Which, speaking of weapons, to the right, or to the west of Sorceress Sellen, that caravan with the great axe, there's a ton of enemies that have a golden sword around it. That is the Noble Slender Sword. It is very rare. It has a very low drop rate, but it is the longest straight sword. It has good dexterity scaling, and so if you're willing to put in the time to grind it, it is a very good option. It is, in my opinion, the best infusible straight sword in Elden Ring. At least the base game. We'll have to see for when the DLC comes out. But heading back to the first step, and then heading off to the east, now that we have our horse, we can get another new weapon. Which we could have gotten this at any time that we had the horse, but I figured it'd be best to get it now now that we're on cleanup duty. But here, as you can see, you can even see it from the map. But here on the right side, there's a wall that you can only get over using the horse. And there are no enemies around here, and it leads you down. And there's a second one of these that has a trapdoor, but it has enemies around it, so that's why I'm pointing that out. But this one gets you the Twin Blade, which is a pretty cool weapon. And again, I'm not going to be showing where all the weapons are. This whole weapon thing is mostly just a part 1 ordeal. Just to get you a decent selection of basic weapons, so you can try things out. But now we are going to head back to the Church of Ella, or however you wish to pronounce it. I really don't care, it's a video game. But here we can upgrade our weapon, and you can only get your weapon to +3 using this smithing table.
Wait, well, you're...
So here you can purchase anything you want, though I got everything that I care about now. But you can also talk to him about himself or Blythe, which I do suggest doing.
Goodbye.
I'm not going to do it right here, right now, again, just for the sake of time. But I do suggest doing it, as it gives you more information. But continuing on, you may see a structure on that landmass over there. That's the goal. You want to generally head towards that. If you can't head towards it, then head northwest, as that will lead you generally down. You know you're in the right direction when you see this troll. You can kill him, he will give you 1,000 runes, pretty good. Or you can run past him, either for the sake of time or because you aren't comfortable fighting those enemies just yet. Either way. But here you may notice something strange. A little glowing movement on the ground. These are the scarabs that we saw earlier that give Ashes of War, except it's invisible. So you just need to smack it at the right time, and this one gives you the Ash of War Stamp Sweep, which is very good for strength weapons, particularly like great swords and colossal swords. Pretty good for them. But continuing on down, there's some more demi-humans, and I decided to kill them. And here you get a falchion. They have a chance to drop the falchion, by the way. And these ones with the club have a chance to drop the club. And here I got a second falchion, so as you can see, pretty common drop, and it's pretty widely considered to be the basic curved sword. And there's a cave. But continuing on, there's another merchant.
What do you need? I don't want any...
He sells you a few things. He sells you the broadsword. He sells you the club. Basic straight sword and hammer. He sells you some smithing stone ones. And the armor's cookbook too. Which notably gets you firebone arrows and neutralizing bullets, which can be used to cure poison.
All done? Well.
Though, whether you want to do that, or whether you want to kill a boss that allows you to buy an infinite amount of them, that's up to you. I will be showing where that boss is when we get to them. For now, this is the guy who was turned into a tree. So, just in case you didn't know, the entire reason we're at this cave is for this guy. And another reason to get the torch, not just as a weapon, but yeah, it is very dark in here. If you don't like that it takes up one of your hands, then both in Weeping Peninsula and the beginning of Liurnia of the Lakes, there will be an opportunity to purchase one that connects to your hip, and so it doesn't give as much light and you can't use it as a weapon, but it will allow you to free up your left hand to hold a shield or a second weapon if you wish. But here you can summon Old Knight Eastvan in case you aren't comfortable with bosses. There's also Spirit Ashes. You can use Spirit Ashes to make bosses easier as well. And so you can do that if you want. Either way, killing the boss gets you the tailoring tools and the sewing needle. And you can continue on this way at the back of the cave that will allow you to get to a cathedral to purchase a few different incantations. But for now...
Wait, you got...
You want to give him the sewing needle. He doesn't have a quest like the other NPCs do, but he does follow you around.
My mum, and that's so I always... You're very... I always want...
And he can alter some of your armor sets. So, if you care about that, then you'll have that as an option. But from here, you want to teleport to that location, and you want to head over to the west, and you should quickly find a group of soldiers fighting a group of demi-humans. From there, you want to head to the left over this structure. And you want to just continue on forward. And there are a bunch of demi-humans here, so if you want to fight them to get more chances at getting the falchion or the club, you can do that. They're also very good for getting runes, which, again, I'm skipping for the sake of time. But here, you can get the large club, the basic great hammer, and quite a popular weapon in the earlier Dark Souls titles. But for now, we're going to use that to jump over here to the Weeping Peninsula. And I'm not going to do this part. It is technically part of Limgrave, but I don't want to make this video 2 hours long, so we did all of Upper Limgrave, and I think that's good for now. And again, we're not doing everything. Like, there's a boss here, there's a boss here, there's a boss here if you go there at night, which they give the bone peddlers bell bearing that lets you buy bones. But there's a cave there with a boss. There's a boss on the bridge if you go there at night. So I skipped a lot of stuff, but I'm mostly here to show the good swords, shields, armor, talismans, physic flasks, spirit ashes, and cookbooks. Just the important things, again, for every build, whether it's strength, dex, intelligence, faith, arcane. I'm not here to show everything, I'm here to show what's relevant to the different kinds of builds to prepare you for Shadow of the Erdtree. But with that being said, yeah.